Hello and welcome to Real Actors, Real Answers, the video podcast where you are the star. Today, I'm excited to talk to Joshua Ausley. He is a cinematographer. And when I say he's a cinematographer, I am saying he's phenomenal. His work with lights, I'm going to say it's magic, okay? It's like, how in the world did you get that effect? Because lighting is super important for transmitting the emotion, and enhancing the character in the scenes or characters in the scenes. He's worked with Chris Hemsworth, who is Thor, and a lot of other projects. He's phenomenal, but I'm not going to steal his fire. Joshua, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, David?
I'm doing swell. I'm going to ask you right now. So, how did you start in this business? It's a very concentrated business. It's very
true.
Unique. Yeah.
Yes, and it's gotten even more so in the last few years. So I had the opportunity, like many, around the turn of the century, if you might say, to pick up a camera and start shooting things. Actually, I can back that up a step. I was always wanting to be a storyteller. I was a writer from my teenage years. I wrote tons of fan fiction, particularly for Star Wars when the internet was young, and I always wanted to write and make something for Star Wars. And so we had a club that was one of the early clubs on the internet, where it was very deeply based in characterization, role play, things like that, hacking and customizing like games and things like that, and just anything to participate. And I wrote the storylines for those clubs. Now, fast forward a few years, I actually was living in Japan. I studied Japanese in college. I moved there. I lived there for 3.5 years. And while I was there, I had the opportunity to get into talent work. So I actually considered myself an actor at that point. I was, nothing big, commercials and, background maybe for this or that project, photo shoots, anything, to kind of keep the bills paid, if you will, at that time. Then once I came back to the States, I became more interested in getting my hands on a camera. And about 2006, 2007, 2008, were when these DSLRs came out, right? And you could grab the Canon 5D or the 7D, its little brother, And that was also when YouTube was getting just started, so you could actually upload your stuff to YouTube, and so yeah, I just picked up a camera. I started shooting. I shot also, I shot at my church. I shot for my father's business, and just put together a really bad reel, but it was good enough to get me a foot in the door, with some companies and with some agencies, and I was able to get on there and start shooting. And at that time, I was doing it all. I was writing, shooting, editing, and I did that for several years. I then transitioned into television, into a TV station, shooting commercials. And usually one-man band going out, again, writing, shooting, editing, TV spots, 30 seconds, 15s, whatever, and just turning out hundreds and hundreds of ads, honing my skills, if you will. Always wanted to do more. So I actually had the opportunity to go totally freelance about 10 years ago, and made that jump and haven't looked back.
I hear enthusiasm still in your voice, and how you did it. It's like what you said, a horrible reel at first. Okay. You're learning, but you didn't do this, it's got to be perfect type of thing. That's kind of impossible. Many people, they stop because it's like self-sabotage, but you just let your passion lead you, right?
That's right. And, hope springs eternal. You have these dreams, you want to tell stories. You at first, you don't really know the rules. So you're experimenting, you're doing whatever you can, and you learn a little with each, project that you do. And, along the way, I found some really great resources. I was part of the of an internet educational group that was hosted by an ASC cinematographer, Shane Hurlbut, and I got on there really early and learned a lot from him, especially in the lighting. That was something I was kind of deficient in. And I should also say, I didn't come up through the traditional route of, being a PA or then a camera assistant, second AC, first AC, then maybe you jump into operating, or maybe you jump over into gripping and, gaffing, and then you're a DP. No, I mean, like some others, I just grabbed a camera and was shooting things. And, so as you work your way up into a different way that way, and you have gaps, that in your knowledge that you have to fill. And you're not going to do that unless you really are passionate about learning. You have to be passionate about just getting better. At any point along the way, you could say, that's good enough. And you could just kind of, stop. And you could be a local production company. You could say, okay, I found my niche. I want to just, do this sort of thing. But no, that constant pursuit of growth is something that is important. I think, especially if you want to step it up every time you step up into the next level, if you will, whether that's size of production or, the next role that has more responsibilities. It is an entire new, playing field that you have to get established.
I love what you said. I've wondered this, and I'm going to I'll say it poorly, but hey, I'm going to say it, okay? When we go, the typical Jane or Josephine or whoever, whatever your name is, you go outside and you see light, okay? And you see clouds, and you see shadows and things like that. You see it, okay? How does a cinematographer look at light? That's a big question. How do you appreciate light? You have an artistic eye for this that's developed over the years. You have a special appreciation for light that we don't.
That's a great question. Light, you have to love light. I love light. And if you see just something beautiful, whether that's shafts of light coming through a window, or maybe, the sky after a storm when the sun is filtered through all these clouds and these crazy colors come out, you have to take a mental image of that and think about that, not like what caused that? How do I maybe try to recreate that if I ever get the opportunity? And maybe I grab my light meter, maybe I just take pictures with my phone, but I'm trying to understand, and so much more so even when you watch movies, right?
Right.
It's harder to get into the story when you're just looking at these beautiful images and thinking, I wonder how they lit that. Or how could I do that? How can I incorporate that into my work? And so that's something I think we do when we watch movies. We watch movies for fun, of course, but I'm also watching to try to learn. And there's some great resources out there that also allow us to kind of figure out or, look at how they did it and then try to, do that in our own work.
I like that, how you describe that. Is light emotion? I mean, because you have the characters. Look at your eyebrows go up. And light induces, influences emotion. Does that have to be, I'm going to use this word, it sounds so silly. Does it have to be reflected with the character? I mean, to get that certain emotion to the audience? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that's what creates some of the great performances, is a kind of just a perfect marriage of the directing, the acting, and the lighting, all, and the camera work, all kind of working together, right? Either one by itself could be, good, and it could be a standout thing, but once they all come together, it creates the true cinematic experience, and it brings out the emotion. Obviously, in lighting, that affects the mood that we perceive in a character without any performance at all. You can look at chiaroscuro and noir. You can look at, lighting for horror, whether the light's flat and very bright or whether it's dark and up lighting. There's so many techniques. And I think it's important to consider that. And that's, in fact, one of the cinematographer's jobs, is to choose the appropriate lighting for the scene. not just for the genre, but working closely with the director to really dig in to what we're trying to achieve emotionally in a scene. And that takes a lot of time, especially in pre-production. It's so important.
Have you ever had delays when you use so have you ever had delays when you use natural light where you just had to quit for the day or at least wait?
I think that happens for everyone. It can be as simple as waiting for a cloud to get out of the way because the scene has already been in sun and you establish that, so you kind of have to work with it. Or the hard times are when the sun's setting and you've got this beautiful shot and you need to shoot because the sun's going down behind the tree line or something, and you only have a few minutes. What do you do? And maybe the director or the production designer is looking at something that's not quite right. Maybe the actor's not wearing the right shoes, and I'm thinking, man, it doesn't matter. This is the most beautiful time to shoot this. Can we shoot now? Because if we miss it, A, it's not going to match. B, we can't come back to this location tomorrow, if the budget's not there, right?
Right.
You have a schedule, you have, 50 people here on set. We can't just come all the way back here, and rent the location for another day. So yeah, working with natural light is a lot trickier than what people might think. Sure, when you're starting out, you can work with natural light and get great images, especially if you're free to kind of pick, and choose what you want to shoot at a particular time. But when you're responsible for the entire production schedule of the day, and you've got 50 people there on set, or maybe 200 people there on set, all, waiting to finish their day. They're just thinking about, hey, when are we wrapping? That's a lot of pressure. And it makes working with natural light trickier. And that's why it's not usually done as much on bigger shows. You're going to have some sort of solution you're thinking of ahead of time, whether that's another big light to, continue that sunlight, even after the real sun went down, or, there's different things that you can do to kind of extend sunlight maybe. But you've got to be really conscious of it.
You can do some things. Now, what comes to mind, I've seen it in New York many times, they're shooting a scene and over on the side off camera, they have this great big white reflector. It's usually square, sometimes round, but it gives an extra, it somehow works with the light that is available.
It sounds like you're referring to a bounce source.
Yeah, bounce. It bounces off. Yeah.
Yeah, that is what we do to shape natural light. For example, I'm going to want to backlight the actor with the sun as much as possible to avoid harsh light hitting them. We don't want them squinting, when they're trying to act. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in a bounce, which will reflect light onto their face on one side. It might fill in shadows under the chin or areas we don't want, we want to make look more beautiful. And then we might even bring in now a solid, which is a black, let's say rag, but it's a cloth or a frame to then create some contrast there. And so those are some of the techniques that we do with natural lighting. Have you had the chance to shoot on a LED stage, or have you seen those?
How is that different? I mean, that's a whole different animal.
It's quite different, yes. But one of the advantages is if you're shooting a sunset scene, right, you can project or you can put that image onto the LED wall. And now you have the sunset staying there as long as you need. It can be sunset all day. So augmenting the light, that you need to come from the sun, that angle and everything, you can literally shoot all day long, get as many takes as you need, not worrying about the sun go down. And you can even then flip around and shoot the reverse, and everything's going to match.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Fascinating, actually. What was the most exciting project you've ever worked on?
Well, to date, that's a hard question to answer. One of the highlights would definitely be I do underwater work. So
I've seen that. It's amazing.
I had the opportunity to be the underwater DP on the biggest Bollywood film at the time that was ever shot, and it was with a major actor, Shah Rukh Khan. He's known all over the world. Great actor, great guy. and he had never really done underwater before, so it was doubly special to be able to shoot underwater with him for several days. He had to learn to scuba dive a little bit. He didn't get certified, but they were able to kind of fudge it a little bit. It was in a pool, so it was safe. And yeah, working with him was definitely a highlight. It's something I would love to do again. I would say it probably led me to getting a Bollywood film as a DP, which I shot a couple of years ago with another great actor, Anupam Kher. He's been in over 500 movies, so just one of the most talented actors you'll ever see. And so doing a whole movie with him was definitely special. So I really enjoyed that. Other than that, being able to do shoot from car to car with a camera car has been really good, really fun, I would say. That process of convincing the director to go for that, and the producers to spend that kind of money to get the scenes, puts a lot of pressure on you as a cinematographer to achieve what you promise, But we did it, and those scenes are in the trailer. They're all the things that sell the movie, right? So if you're strategic and kind of what you're doing, those things can pay off big time.
You're educating me and everybody that's watching, because now I'm thinking of different independent films, and I'm being critiqued. It's not criticized, but I see the lighting is amateur. I mean, in comparison to a feature film where it looks like professional, and if it's an independent film, I mean, it can be done well. But sometimes they use ordinary lights or house lights or something, and it casts the wrong shadow here and there. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Many times, and I love Christian movies, but many times the lighting just isn't right, and it kind of distracts you.
Well, I agree on lighting that does not look realistic. Can be distracting. And I wouldn't even say necessarily realistic. I think we have a different expectation of what movie lighting is than what reality is. In reality, we think nothing of being in an office with fluorescent lights overhead. But in a movie, that doesn't look good, and it doesn't look cinematic, right? So knowing those techniques of like shaping that light, even if you're using, household lights or lights from Home Depot, you can do all that. You can use a shower curtain to diffuse your light instead of a expensive Matthews, half grid cloth. You can do that. It's all about knowing kind of like the rules and thinking about light, the shaping of it. The other thing is that I was going to say, so I've also lit scenes with nothing but practical lights. Maybe the actor is in is in a room or in their living room on an iPad. Well, the iPad can give a lot of light to their face. Maybe they have a lamp on, so that gives you a little backlight. It illuminates the scene a little bit, some of the surroundings. Maybe there's the TV's on. Maybe there's a lamp in another room. And these cameras today are so sensitive that if you play it right, that can be beautiful, and it can totally work.
That's encouraging to people who are just starting out, Now, most everybody on the planet Earth has something like this, okay? iPhones, this is an Android, which is all right, but can you shoot a quality film? Because you said it's very sensitive nowadays. Have you ever shot a film or a scene using,
phone?
Yeah.
I have not. Okay. Fortunately, I would say fortunately, because I don't really aspire to. Right. I know they have the cinematic mode, and you'll see these ads that were shot on Apple iPhone that are very cinematic. Sure, they were shot on the phone, but they spent $1 million on lighting and camera movement. Maybe it's on a crane, maybe it's on an armed car. There's special effects. So they're still spending the money. The camera is just the capture device. Let's just think about a camera as the capture device.
Right.
To be film. that's just one tiny factor in what makes a movie and or a commercial or a cinematic image. So certainly it can work, you know, it can create create an image. You're still going to need to light it. You're still going to need, you know, if it's appropriate to the scene, to move it, you know, smoothly. And there's tools for that, of course. By the time you build up your iPhone to be a cinema camera and it's this big, you might as well have gotten something like a FX6 or a, you know, even a DSLR, at least A7S, you know, that's a better tool. It might shoot, it's going to shoot better than your iPhone. To be honest.
I have never heard, you really separated the two. I have never heard anybody say that a camera is just a capture device, which it is. It's capturing, and that's what it should do. But the artistic side would be for the lighting and, of course, the sound and everything else. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I like that.
It takes the entire crew, you know, it takes everyone working together for this common cause to create a great film. And getting back to what you were saying, maybe even about Christian movies or something, is, you know, it's not just one element that builds a scene. Everything's got to come together, you know, and everything's got to be as good as everyone can make it, you know, whether that's from acting, from the lighting, from the costume design, you know, and the art department and the directing. It's not to say that these people aren't skilled enough. You know, it might be a budget factor, and maybe that's a limiting factor. You know, on an independent movie, you may have to shoot 10 pages a day. You know, that's tough on everyone. It's tough on the actors to remember that many pages of dialogue and actions. It's tough on the camera team, you know, to move everything around. If you have different locations, it's tough on the lighting team to light entire different scenes, and, you know, so many in a day. It's going to limit your coverage. It's going to limit, you know, everything, right? And so on a bigger show, you're shooting maybe 3 pages a day, and that makes a huge difference. And I think having that time, and then we say time is money, yeah. So it costs money to take time, and it takes time to spend money. So that, you know, you're just trading. So, you know, that's probably part of what we see in films. You know, you can just tell. Look right on the screen, look at a few scenes, and say, okay, I can kind of guess what the budget was on that movie.
I like that. Switching over, how was it working with Thor?
Well, I had the opportunity, and I missed this in my intro, to let you know that one of the ways that I got into the film industry after I went freelance was shooting behind the scenes. So I was able to shoot, which is another camera, behind the scenes camera, filming the actual main unit shooting the movie. So, you know, you get to be on set, you get to watch, learn, you're filming the takes, but you're also filming between the takes. And it's a great educational opportunity, as well as an important job to help the marketing of the film. You know, you're always going to have to see, you know, behind the scenes or some sort of, you know, promotional material to help promote the movie. So that's kind of how I got into the actual, you know, film business. It helped me get into the union, things like that. And so before long, I wasn't only shooting behind the scenes, I was filming interviews, I was filming extra promotional content, I was filming skits and commercials and things like that for these films. So back when Marvel was really taking over Atlanta, especially at Pinewood Studios, they were shooting several films at the same time. I know it was like Thor 2, Infinity War, Endgame, all these Avengers things. I was there quite often shooting with some of the talent coming in to shoot for Disney Channel, shoot for, you know, the Marvel Instagram or Facebook page and things like that. So we were doing big green screen setups that they would then, you know, change and, you know, change the background. We were shooting all sorts of, we were shooting on the sets, you know, things like that. And so it was great fun. It helped me to learn how to work under pressure. But, you know, I will say that the actors were great to work with. You know, I mean, these are people who are busy on a tight schedule. They're probably tired from working so many long days. They're coming in fully in their wardrobe. And, you know, as far as they know, this is not important. This is not the main film, but they have to do some sort of marketing. So they were mostly, I would say, very great sports. They'd come in, be happy to do, you know, whatever they needed to do. And yeah, they were very nice to work with.
Good. That's important to have mature actors, you know, that are patient and understand what's going on around. I tell my students that when you're on a set, learn, ask questions if it's appropriate. Don't just sit there, do something and take notes, whatever. Because the more you know about, because there's so many, like you said, if there's 50 people or 200 people, they all have a significant role to play in the whole accumulation of this movie, you know.
Yeah.
What are you working on now?
Well, I'm kind of between films at the moment. I'm working on my 10th feature currently. We shot half of the film in Atlanta on stage, and the other half we're going to have to go to Detroit. So we're going there next month to film all the exterior, and it's a heist movie, so yeah, we should be able to do some fun things there. And yeah, so that'll be fun. And then as far as other projects, there's a couple of other features that are floating around that I'm hoping we'll get going here in the next couple of months. There's a baseball film, which I haven't done a baseball movie yet, that will hopefully be out in New Mexico. And then we have a gangster type movie that is set in Chicago. So there's definitely a couple of things floating around that you know, sound like they could be interesting and let me flex my cinematic muscles a little bit.
Yeah, and it's you're going to learn. It's continuing to learn because you're dealing with personalities, you're dealing with different lighting situations. You know, it's you have to keep on your toes. If someone was going to say, you know what, Josh, I love light, I love the idea of shooting films, cinematography, you know, but I don't know the first thing about it. What kind of camera do you use? What kind of education, or do you just volunteer your services? What would you like tell them?
Well, a combination of things. As far as educational goes, YouTube, there's plenty of information out there. It may not always be, you know, the best. You know, people might go down some rabbit hole that's not really important. But, you know, I would definitely check out Filmmakers Academy, which is what Shane Hurlbut's course is now called, and it involves not only him as an instructor, but now you have directors, you have editors, you have camera assistants, all teaching courses in their specific fields. So that's a great resource. It's not a free resource, but I would say it's definitely worth it. I have a lighting course that is on a site called Tomorrow's Filmmakers, and
I have that one. Excuse me. That's how I met you. Yeah. That's a fantastic course.
Yes. And it's not just the lighting. They have, you know, many teachers teaching other aspects of filmmaking as well. So definitely check that out. You can get a long way on free, you know, websites and things. There's so much information out there and podcasts you can listen to. And then just go out and shoot, you know, volunteer your time if you have to. Shoot someone's thesis film from a local, you know, college. You know, PA if you need to, you know, get on as a camera assistant. You know, even if it's a corporate job, you know, anything will give you experience. You know, you'll learn something every single day. So that's super important.
Very good advice.
It's never been a better time to learn. You know, it's a tough time maybe in the industry, just coming off of these strikes, and then, you know, with streamers producing less content right now. You know, we're all feeling the squeeze. But it's a great time to educate yourself. Take the time right now to improve yourself and learn something new. Learn a language, you know, learn something. You know, there's many things that you can pick up on your free time.
Joshua, if someone was going to contact you, how would they do that?
Best way is to go to my website, which is my name, joshausley.com, joshuaausley.com. You know, got several different iterations of that. So, you know, you can get my contact, my email, my phone number, Instagram, @JoshAusley_DP. I try to keep some of my best work up there, and you can always DM me.
Excellent. Okay. This has been fascinating. I love the one of the best things that you have educated me in, and I'm sure that the audience is, lighting. I mean, I've seen your work. I've seen the different photography that you do and things. And like I said, however you do that underwater scene is just, it's like, how, it's just, I know it takes a lot of preparation, a lot of know-how, a lot of, a lot of prayer, but you come up with some beautiful shots.
Well, thank you very much. I still consider myself a learner. Got a long way to go, but
Yeah.
feedback such as yours is very encouraging to help me stay motivated to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you for the privilege of being on Real Actors, Real Answers. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you very much, David. It's been an honor.
Thank you very much.